Okay, good morning, students. Hope all of you can hear me properly. Okay, then we have covered these presentations in previous sessions. Hope all of you have gone through these things. And in last session, we have covered these ER related topics. And so these were the things we have covered in last sessions. And where we mentioned that what is the entity relationship model, and then after that, so we mentioned about entities, attributes, and relationships. Then hope all of you can understand these things now properly. Okay, then we discussed about primary keys, composite keys, candidate keys. Then multi-value attributes, derived attributes. You should know about, you should be able to understand these concepts clearly, because of these knowledge would be important. Okay, all of these knowledge are essential for mapping ER diagrams. Relationships. And so we mentioned about a binary tertiary kind of relationships, and cardinality. We covered this section. We have covered these things in last session. The last session, after that, we started this one, and then we mentioned about weak entity, concept of weak entity, and then we discussed about existence dependency, right? After that, then we have gone through these things. Okay, finally we done this part, right? Recursive entity section. Okay. Then we have to start from here today, right? Hope all of you can remember, and I assume that okay, all of you can remember and understand the previous knowledge, right? Previous knowledge is very important to understand other things from here, right? Then okay, first thing today, attributes in relationships. Yeah, and then so you know what are relationships. Then you can see here two entities and one relationship here. Then you know the way that the way we should represent, display relationships. So here previously we learned about the attributes of entities. Hope all of you can understand this concept, right? So we can display, we can understand what are attributes and what are attributes of entities. But here we are discussing about attributes of relationships. Okay, then so here this, wait. Okay, now hope all of you can see the screen. Okay, and then we were discussing about attributes of relationships. They are entities and relationships. I hope all of you can understand these symbols, very important, and the way you should write uppercase, lowercase, singular, plural, that kind of things should be very clear. Got it. After that, uh, the topic subheading here is attributes of relationships. Then here, entity, after that, relationship, and after that, another entity. Okay, then two entities are having one relationship, and here relationship has attribute. Customer places an order. So here, so this order date is related to the date that it is placed in the order, right? So that's why order date considered as attribute of relationship. So these are some examples, other examples regarding to relationships, right? And here you need to store borrowed book days. Then so when borrowing, consider dealing borrowing book scenario. So student borrow what, a book, right? So borrowing date, student can be an entity, and the book also can be entity. And after that, the relationship can be built in between what, the student and their book. And so here you have to mention borrows in simple present, and here borrowing date, right? Okay, then after that, then this is describing the relationship, right? So that's why it is called as attribute of relationship. After that, then if needed, you can describe what, entity. Then entity is not a relationship, you know that is a different thing. So these are not attributes of relationship, these are attributes of entities. We already done that kind of concepts, right? So why we need attributes to describe relationship or entities? So while you are describing relationships, you are calling it as attribute of relationship. Then after that, composite entities. Then this is another concept, right? Here again, previously we discussed about relationships. Here this time we are going to discuss about composite entities. Composite entities, why we need composite entities, and when we are using composite entities, very important section and sub point. And so most of students are having doubts on this kind of things. Here now you can understand relationship in between two entities, and what is relationship. Okay, then what is relationship type? So normally in relation ER diagrams or what, relational model normally requires one-to-many relationship. It preferred, right? Then normally if one-to-many relationships are encountered, so here the initial relationship. But in relational model, if you are needed to represent this kind of relationship, what is this relationship? So one student can follow many courses, right? And many courses means this one, and one course can be what, then multiple students can be registered for a one course. So multiple students are representing this way. This is so one course, multiple students, one student, many courses. Hope all of you can understand the way that representing these concepts. After that, so then this is okay there, then here, then here there is no that kind of composite entity. Okay, here the direct relationship, right? But here this one considered as composite entity. Okay, this is normally not considered as a relationship, it is considered as composite entity, right? Then what does it mean? One students can be perform multiple enrollment like you know that registering kind of thing, right? And so for one course there may be multiple enrollments. Hope you if you can understand these things. Then this is the description for that area. So justification for my explanation can be find here. You can find that. Then it is furthermore it is telling about primary keys. So understand here student, class, right? Student entity information can be find here and classes, right? And class code and course code also can be find here. Or this one related to the next one. So this one related to the so again next one, so different one. Here student details are here and class details are here and so look at this one again. There can be many to many relationships, right? So okay, we go then study this scenario. After that we can explain it. Okay, you can see here multiple students have been registered here. Yeah, then Fernando and 452 257. So they have registered for several classes. Several classes. right? After that, you can see here class codes and course codes. So then this is the explanation for that given example. So class may exist even though it contains no students at all. Therefore, we examine 12.1 optional symbol should be appear on the student side, right? That means, right, student is optional, right? Then there may be students or not, right? Then that can be displayed as this way. So what is the thing that it is displaying here? Okay. So student is optional for the class. So according to this context, right? So it depends with the given case. Okay, according to this case. So that can be represented in this way. There may be 0 or multiple students. Okay, and after that, okay, there can be one class, right? And or at least there should be always there is one class. Otherwise, there may be multiple classes. So that information can be gathered from here, right? So furthermore, when we are explaining that no enrollments can be found there if need sometimes. No students sign up for a class because class is not occur enroll entity becomes optional to class. Right? So then previously so if you are explaining, then previously you learned about composite entity scenario. Here, then there is we can find many to many relationship here, n and m there. That means this is many to many relationship. Okay, then in relational model, normally we are describing this using this kind of what? Composite, by using composite entity. So when you are converting so this type of thing into this type of thing, that means composite entity related relationship, then you have to display that in this way. Okay, but here there is no optional or mandatory relationship, so that's considered as mandatory. But when it comes optional case, okay, here student is optional to the optional to this relationship, right? Okay, there can be then class is already mentioned at the beginning. Then, so if this is a many to many relationship, okay, but even it is optional, but there can be multiple students. So then it becomes many to many relationship. After that, so when you are describing, when you are representing by using composite relationship, then you have to represent that in composite relation entity by using, because of this one was many to many type relationship, right? Here you can understand. So this is the way that you should display that scenario. What is the scenario? This one is the most important thing you should understand here, if no students sign up for that class, okay, then here, because the class is not occur in the enrolled entity becomes optional to class. Class is always there, okay. The professor has assigned to class, right? There is course code, and that kind of things are previously arranged, okay. But after that, there can be no students, no enrollments. So if that kind of scenario also handled, then if there are students, no problem, multiple students also, then this kind of relationship can be built there. So this is the diagram. This is the diagram related to the previously mentioned scenario. Okay, try to understand, take 1-2 minutes. Okay, after explaining these all things in this slide, okay, I can explain them again in Sinhala language too, because of most of students have requested to explain them again in Sinhala too. Okay, I will take a brief summary. So understand these things first. So now you know what are primary keys, right? Attributes of relationship. Here you can find some, these are other things related to. Okay, then you can find some attributes of relationships. So here, this becomes now not a relationship, then composite entity. Then you can see here both primary keys can be included there, all the primary key related things. So now the description related to another example. We go through these things. Then this is here, this is describing the reason for student and enroll shown as one-to-many. Got that? The one student can be enrolled with multiple classes. Student has here occurs only one time. Here then you know that these things can be displayed in tables, right? So here discussing about what enroll table can be included there. and what other tables can be included there. So here then we are discussing about relationships in between tables. So that is the explanation for this one, right? And then one students, many enrollments, okay, then one class, okay, and again many enrollments there. Then what we mentioned that. So then for one class there may be okay, no students, but the student must registers for classes. Otherwise, the student not become a student, right? Okay, hope all of you can understand these things, and you have to go through these kind of examples and try to draw these ER diagrams sections. Then only you can understand these theories. Then first you can start understand the concept here. After that, so you have to work on these concepts. Logical structure of a relational model. So here we have to again discuss about entities, attributes, and so the logical structure of them, these things, right? And tables and their characteristics. And previously we mentioned that about entities, relationships, and mostly entities and relationships. Then we know the entities also are having attributes, right? Then we told that for this kind of university environment, entities of interest can be students, faculty members, courses, and so on. So that kind of university environment, okay, then when you are drawing ER diagram related to university environment, then entities, there can be entities, right? So these are, okay, these can become entities or student, faculty members, right? Courses, so entities. So we already know these things, right? Then student entity, then student entity maybe have what? So attributes, right? So these kind of attributes, name, GPA, kind of things, and date of enrollment, date of birth, home address, phone number, kind of entities are attributes. Already we know these things. So the same thing describing here. So the way of that attribute this representing is very important. Other thing. So way means how well. We know that we have to map these things on ER diagram or mention and graphically represent these things. So when you are graphically representing, So then this format would be very important. You know that. So when student attribute is displaying, so that can be displayed like this way. Because, and we can't write a attribute like date of birth kind of thing, but there should be what? So we have to write it as one word. That means we can't, if we have kept spaces there, there may be multiple words. Got that? Then there may be multiple words. So if you can combine them using underscores, so then it becomes single word, right? Related entities can be considered as an entity set, right? The relationships where there may be, we can consider as entity set. Hope all of you can remember the basic definitions. Okay, what is database? Okay, then same. Okay, so normally we can find a relationship in between tables, databases in databases. Then hope all of you can understand this concept entity set definition there clearly. So tables and their characteristics. So normally tables also called as relations, and their characteristics means, so what type of characteristics we can observe there. So these are the characteristics of tables, uh, that mean relations. So then hope all of you can read and understand these basic characteristics. Take some time and read yourself and understand them. So then by going through these features and characteristics, so normally we can produce these kind of tables. So these tables are related to student information, student table, and other one is about like class information. So both are related to student, right? Then we know what are tuples. So the two-dimensional it. Okay, there is only length and height. 8 rows can be found there. 12 columns. So completely when considered as one table. So the next other important thing when you are so creating, so at the very first time when you are creating this kind of table in your database, you have to be careful about the data type, the data types of each field. Then these are the examples. Then for example, student hours and student GPA are numeric attributes. That means numerical values are stored there. Got that? Numerical values are stored there. Then at the when it is creating this table, you should mention that, right? These types of fields here, hours and GPA's numerical values and other things here. This you know that these are text values, right? Student names, these kind of things. Characters, right? Variable characters normally. Then here these things are again like normally primary keys. We are not mentioning it as numbers, right? They all are considered as what? So characters or what, that kind of things. But it depends if needed, we can mention it as numbers. And so then date time dates. So data types. So these kind of things are examples. So characters here, these kind of things can be considered there. dates. Okay, then these things are easy to very easy to understand, right? You go through these things. Here we are discussing about data types. You have to, you can. So there are several other data types too. So these are the data types most commonly used in creating when you are creating tables. So other logical, so Boolean kind of values. So true or false. And we are then after that, so we already know that there should be primary key, should be a primary key. Normally, no, normally we can't kept primary key as null value. Then you have to, it is, you have to enter primary key there when you are inserting some record. Null values are not allowed in records. So normally, where we are using null values, so null values, unknown attributes, okay, but missing or that kind of things can be considered as null values, then that kind of in situations, database designers or admins or that kind of people who are using when people are inserting data into tables, okay, sometimes they may keep that fields as empty some places, so that can become a null value. But normally primary key related values, so we can't keep them as null values, right? So other logical characteristics. Here we are discussing about characteristics of a table. Okay, there are other things. These things are all other characteristics related to tables. Here then, when it is only allowed to enter some range of values, so we can call them as a domain, right? So normally a GPA can't be 5, so that kind of things. So these are the logics, these are the points, important points when you are when you are trying to create a table, right? So finally, order of rows and columns is irrelevant. Okay, then so order not matters. So what is the thing it matters actually really? Then field order also not matters. Field name, row number, primary key. So they are the things. Then row number also not mattering because of order is not matter. That means the primary key and field names are the most important things in tables, right? And other data types, right? The field names, we already know they are very important. Then row number is no problem because of why? Then each row can be uniquely understand by using the primary key. So these are the characteristics you should know regarding to these entities and tables. Attributes. What is the summary on this section? So most of students have asked to explain these things in Sinhala. Then I told that I will mention summary after going through a presentation. So මෙතන අපි කිව්වා ස්ටුඩන්ට් ගේ attributes තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඒ වගේ මේ entity එකක attributes තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඒ attributes display කරන විදිහ ඒකට වෙනම format එකක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට අනිත් දෙක ගත්තාම මේ entities වලින් තමයි tables දැන් university environment එකක් ගැන මෙතන කතා කරා. එතන කතා කිව්වා වෙන විවිධ entities තියෙනවා student lecturers ඒ වගේ entities. එතකොට හැම entity එකකටම අදාළව table තියෙනවා. එතකොට student නම් student table එක. ඒ table වලට අදාළව මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ? ඒ table වලට අදාළව දැන් එක table එකක් student table එකක් දැන් ගත්තොත් ඒ table එකට අදාළව data insert කරන්න පුළුවන් පිළිවෙලක් තියෙනවානේ. එතකොට field names ටික හරියට තියෙන්න ඕන කිව්වා වගේ. එතකොට field names වලත් මේ order එක එච්චර ගැටලුවක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඔය data retrieval part එකේදී වුණත්. එතකොට හැබැයි දැන් rows වලත් order එක ගැටලුවක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද ඔයාට මෙන්න මේ primary key හරියට set කරලා field names ටික හරියට properly වා set කරනවා නම් table එකෙන් ඒවා relationship build කරලා primary key foreign key හරියට දාලා data retrieve කරද්දී ඒක ගැටලුවක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හරි අනිත් එක තමයි එතකොට මේ දැන් table එකක් එකපාරට table database එකකට හැදෙන්නේ නැහැනේ. ඒක table එකක් හදද්දී සැලකිලිමත් වෙන්න ඕන characteristics ගැන මෙතනදී අපි discuss කළා. very important මෙයා වගේ මේ හැම data එකකටම අදාළ මේ field එකකටම අදාළ data type එකක් තියෙනවා. මෙතන නම් මේ වගේ ගැලපෙන ඒවාට දැන් numbers වලින් data enter වෙන ඒවා තැන් තියෙනවා. text වලින් මේ data ටික enter වෙන තැන් තියෙනවා. තනි character එකකින් data enter වෙන තැන් තියෙනවා. එතකොට එහෙම දේවල් ගැන සැලකිලිමත් වෙන්න ඕන tables create කරද්දී සහ maintain කරද්දී ඒ කියන්නේ update කරද්දී හරි create කරන්න පුළුවන් අපිට update කරන්න පුළුවන් delete කරොත් නම් ඉතින් තව එක ගැන worry වෙන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. හැබැයි delete කරද්දී තව දේවල් ගැන සැලකිලිමත් වෙන්න ඕන. So there are the things we can discuss for this presentation. Then we can move to next one. Again, here we are discussing about keys. So we already have heard some theories regarding to keys, and here we are going to learn so new theories, new concept regarding to keys, right? So observe this example, student and subject combination here, and subject ID there. Then now you know the way that field should be named, and this information can be gathered from these tables. Okay, first understand these two relations, that means two tables and their columns and their primary keys and the relationship in between them, one to one or one to many or many to many. Okay, just go through these things. So then always at the exam, okay, you will be given this kind of tables, or sometimes it is given some scenario in text by using paragraph. First, most important thing is what? Read and understand these the given things. They are like inputs, right? Then you have to understand, then you have to process, then you have to write the accurate answers according to the question output. Okay, hope you can understand these given two tables and this example. The object combination ID value is what? See, X005 student. Table points to subject combination, this one. Can you understand that? Subject combine ID S005, right? Then here subject combination I, then this is works as a primary key of the subject combination table. After that, in this table, student table, primary key is student ID. But this is works as foreign key, right? So this key is common for both tables and it builds relationship in between these two tables. So the common fields are important, but you can understand what is the primary key and what is the foreign key, what is the role of these keys, or what are the roles of these keys. So if you can make relationship in between two tables, then you can make relations in between records too. Because of why? These tables are containing records. In between records too, we can make relationships because of already there are relationships in between tables. So other examples also, hope all of you can understand. Then I explained this foreign key concept and what is the key which is used to link two tables can be considered as foreign key that is common for both tables. In one table it works as foreign key while another table it works as primary key. Understood? So next one is differential integrity. So we learned that integrity is very important to avoid redundancies or avoid consistency in between records in databases. So integrity defines some quality of information which are available on database. Okay, then there are many integrity types, right? Referential integrity, referential integrity. What does it mean by that? Very important concept. Okay, based on these, again, you can understand here. Then in this course, every term, everything you are learning have relationships. Subject is about relationships, and the theories are also have there are relationships. Okay, without one, you can't understand other thing properly. Very important. You have to revise the things session by session, understand, go through activities on SAQs. Okay, then after that, so by covering these things, after that, then you can write answers for CAT exams. Anyway, so referential integrity means what? Foreign key. Then if you don't know about what is foreign key, then you can't understand this concept. When you don't know about these concepts, you can't understand it. Referential integrity means what? If the foreign key contains a value, the value must be refer existing valid row in the other relation where it is originated. Already mentioned this concept here. Referential integrity, key in the device and relationships. One introduce the key role is based on concept of known as determination. So A determines B. What does it mean by A determines B? Here, this example. So, okay, this is very important. Then language also would be little bit matter. Determines, right? Okay, A determines B. And how you can find this? The noun student ID in a student table, you are able to determine student name. Right? But we know what is determining. So if you know student ID, previously we mentioned that the importance of the primary key. Primary key can't be duplicated. Only one, then one primary key can have only one student. Like NIC, National Identity Card Number. So student ID, so all are having unique IDs. By using that ID, you can find another field, got that of your table. So A determines B means what? Student, for an example here, student ID determines student name. So that kind of thing. So sometimes, so in a single table, you can. So one, then again, like primary key concept scenarios. So student, when you have a student ID, then you can understand what. So then these are working like B, C, D kind of thing. Student ID determines student name and subject combination ID, and okay, other is addresses kind of things. Student ID is enough for determines other things. But so can you apply these things everywhere? No, can't. So by looking at the table, you have to understand that. Because of in this table, so the previously mentioned things are valid only for this table because of according to the design of this table, according to design of these fields. When these fields are getting different, then data and information are inserting inside of these tables are different. Then previously mentioned scenarios, previously mentioned conditions or concepts are getting changed. So that's the thing is happens there. Very important. Understand because of these things would be important when you are normalizing data too. Because of when you are going for the exam, most of the time I mentioned that you have to do, you have to understand ER related, there is a scenario. I think you can go through the past papers. Then you have to draw ER diagram. Then you can score more marks, like half of marks. Then after that, you have to draw relational schema. Other important things, what? Normalization related things, right? For the normalization related things, these things are important. Not only normalization, here ER diagrams also these things are required. After that, then how you practically implement these things on databases? Here we are discussing about implementation of databases. Then you need SQL, right? That's why I asked you to stay in touch with SQL from the beginning of the course, because of then you can understand, or then you are get familiar to the language. Okay, after that you can, when we are teaching that section, then you can understand, and then you can participate practicals kind of things. Then these are the things we should be covered in this course. So determination, as I told you, determination is very important. Functional dependencies. After that, very important to understand concept known as here. The principle of determination is very important because of it used to define or definition of a key relationship database concept known as functional dependence. So what does it mean by functional dependence? The term functional dependence can be defined most of easily in this way. The attribute B is functional dependent on attribute A. Previously, we mentioned this thing, right? A determines B concept. After that, when we are talking about functional dependencies, by using the same example, we can say that, so B is functionally dependent on attribute A. So already you have idea the concept of dependency, right? So dependency means can't exist without the previous one, or the what strong one's existence. Hope all of you can understand these new concepts, functional dependence. Following example about employee table. Here, if employee phone number is functionally dependent on employee number, no problem. This phone number depend on employee number. Then this employee number has this phone number. And this employee also may have same phone number, because of they might be work on some same office. Got that? If they are placing a office phone number or house phone number, they may can use what? Same phone number. No problem there. Because of the employee are having different primary keys. Then you can understand these concepts and read these things and understand. Then next one is very important understanding is this one. Key attributing, right? Key attribute means what? Here we are going to talk about keys, then key attributes. So if you can use key, then you can use keys for determine a record uniquely. By using employee's last name, you can't understand. Can you understand a full record by using employee's last name? So when someone says, okay, select the Pereira's record, you can't select specific Pereira's records. Because of why? This one and this record are there. But if someone asks employee number one's record, you can say that. But if someone asks this way, his name is Saras Pereira, his employee number is, then he's telling all the information. Name Saras Pereira and employee number also giving it. By then employee number 162 and find the Saras Pereira's record. Then he has given all these three information. That key is enough. So that is, okay, more than addition to, then that is sufficient, and so that is considered as also as key. So these are the key types. So this key, then that previously mentioned key, employee number with employee number plus employee name plus employee last name, employee first name plus last name, that also work as a key. We can consider it as a key because of why you can uniquely identify a record. 162, only 162, that is also considered as a key. Why? Record uniquely identified. But Pereira, it is not a key because of, you know the reason. If you get this one whole record, can you consider this as a key? Yes. Yes, you can understand the record uniquely. So that is the concept of key terms. So these things are very important. So there are different types of keys. We already discussed about some keys, but here you learn the concept of key, the definition of key, and after that, key attribute. So previously I mentioned that this one, so key attribute, Sarath also a key here. Attribute, that part of key. This was, if this one considered as key, so all the separate parts can be considered as a key. And Sarath Pereira also can consider as what? Key attribute. So key is this one, all together considered. And others, when you get partially or subsets, you can consider them as key attributes. Very important. Right? Key එකක් කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? Key attribute එකක් කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? හරි. ඒක යුනික් වෙන්නේ කොහොමද? ඒක key attribute එකක් අඳුරගන්නේ කොහොමද? මේ දේවල් ටික දැනගන්න ඕනේ. මේ concepts ඔක්කොම introduce කරන්නේ තාම නිකන් introduce කරනවා වගේ. ඒක introduce කරාම මේවා apply කරන්න වෙන තැන් වල especially questions වල හරියට ඒ concept idea එකක් ගන්න ඕනේ. Okay, then you can go through these examples. Here, these all things are what? Multi-attribute key. Employee number determines all of these things. Okay, then keys are, so Here, given possible existence composite key, we can further refine that dependence, full functional dependence. Because of all these keys are, if there is a table, that table, if that table only has all five bits, then here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields. And this one 6. Or if one table has six what? 6 fields, you know what are fields? Okay, then if one table has 6 fields like this, then here employee number, then others, a first name, okay, the last name kind of things, and interest, okay, kind of things are having. So if that table only has only these fields, okay, then that other fields are determined by using employee number. All fully, all things are fully functionally dependent, full functional dependence. Okay, then understand this is very important concept. Okay, take some time and understand. I will give 2, 3 minutes. After that, we can go to the next section. Okay, in this given example, right? Take that, consider that employee age or that employee address. They are completely depend on what? Employee number. No other field. Then that's why it is called as full functional dependency. Then super key. Super key is any key that identifies each entity uniquely. Previously mentioned these concepts, right? A record can be understood by using this one or this one and this one. As I mentioned, you explain you that way. So super key is any key that identifies each entity record uniquely. So here, employee number with or without additional attributes can be super key. Even when additional attributes are redundant, no problem. Okay, here this time redundancy is not a problem, not a matter here. Okay, this works as super key. This is also work as super key, and this is also work as super key. Because of why you can understand record uniquely. Candidate keys, different concept already mentioned that. With then previously we have seen that there were some redundancies. Candidate key can be described as super key without redundancies. The previous example or this one, employee number, employee last name is a super key, but not a candidate key. Why? Because employee number by itself is a candidate key. How? Because of then this is not a candidate key. Why? It can't uniquely find uniquely understand or uniquely represent a record by using that. So this kind of records fields you can use separately. Find some record. So that kind of key can be mentioned as a private candidate key. So, but here one table can have, previously I mentioned that employee number and employee national identity card number. Then when one selected employee number as the primary key, then this one works as candidate key. By using that also, you can uniquely find the record, but it is not the considered as primary key, right? So what is the difference of primary keys? Normally you are using primary key to make connection in between tables. So if you are inserting the same field as a foreign key, then it is using the primary key. Hope all of you can understand these concepts. Primary key considered as super key and candidate key. Special, very special key. Secondary keys, okay, general things. You can understand these things by going through these things. So not a hard section, it is not a complicated part. So other secondary keys to explain or describe some record, we can use them. Okay, then integrity rules, we can cover these things after the break, right? Integrity rules, then these relational algebra related things. These things are easy to understand these concepts, right? After that, we have to go through these things. Then these things would be important, right? Again, relational schema, because of at the exam, you may need to draw or map a relational schema too. It is a different thing. Okay. Here, then we can have a break now. Okay, after that, we can rejoin with the using the new link. Okay.